good are you at reading economic tea leaves, right? Because you've got jobs numbers up, but the markets are still down, and your paychecks are not keeping up with how much more you're paying at the grocery store and at the gas station. So coming up, we've got a reality check on whether a recession is really on the way. Plus, some breaking news out of Cuba. 9 people killed after a big explosion at a hotel, with police right now, as we speak, looking for survivors. We're going to take you live to Havana. And the WNBA tips off tonight without superstar Brittany Griner. I'm going to speak with one of her close friends, the women's basketball legend, Dawn Staley, about what we know about Griner's detainment in Russia and whether she thinks the U.S. is doing enough to help BG. Plus, with Roe versus Wade on the ropes, some states are now targeting anti-abortion, or abortion pills, rather. We're going to take you to South Dakota's only Planned Parenthood clinic where there's not enough doctors, and those pills, some say, can be a lifeline. Plus, police now have the car used by that Alabama corrections officer before she allegedly helped a murder suspect escape. Okay, so they got the car. What about these 2 on the run? No sign of them yet, with new concerns tonight about that officer's safety. We're live in Alabama later on in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and it is a busy one. We're kicking off tonight with this promising jobs report that came out today. Good news, right? It was stronger than expected, but it's not making much of a difference on Wall Street, which kind of adds to a little bit of a confusing picture we're getting of what's really going on with the U.S. economy right now. Listen, it has been a roller coaster week for the markets. I don't have to tell you that. Up big on Wednesday, down big yesterday, and today just slightly down a little bit. The NASDAQ was down about 1.5%. The Dow and the S&P less than that. But all in all, still in the red, right? And that's on the heels of this April jobs report that's a little bit above the expectations that most economists had. Better than they thought. 428,000 jobs added, about 3.5% unemployment. That's one of the lowest unemployment rates in this country in half a century. So why, then, is the economy making people in this country unhappy with President Biden? Because these numbers tell a picture, too, right? These are also a snapshot. 2/3 of people don't like how the president is handling things. It could be because the money you're making isn't keeping up with how much things are costing you. This jobs report is showing that, yes, wages are up since last April, but inflation is up more than that. And the place that most of us notice it the most? At the gas station, right? The national average now $4.28 a gallon, a bump from last week, and might put the U.S. on pace for a new national average record by the time I see you again on Monday. Joel Kent is joining us here now, our business and tech correspondent. So, Joe, plain English for us here. When you're opening up the hood, when you're checking out this jobs report, what are you seeing and what's to come?
I think the main takeaway for me is wages and inflation, and you really hit on that super clearly. That is what most Americans are worried about. How much are my wages going up and how much is inflation? Because that ends up being how much you're paying at the grocery store and how much you're paying at the gas pump. Look, it's good to see that jobs continue to be strong, over 400,000 jobs added for the last 12 months now. So that's good news, but it's already baked into the markets. It's already baked into expectations. It would be weird if it was going in the other direction. In fact, now we're over 90% back when it comes to all of those job losses that we had back in 2020. So the jobs comeback is good. And that's why the Fed is saying that we're probably not going to be in a recession anytime soon. Fed Chair Powell saying that he sees no evidence of that on the horizon as of now. But that's why he's raising rates where they are, of 0.5 point on Wednesday. And we expect more hikes like that going on into the rest of the year. But when you look at the bigger picture, the number one issue for so many voters out there is inflation and cost of living and how the president is handling that. And that really is the bottom line.
The advice that we always hear, Joe, from economists that we have on and from these, experts over at CNBC is don't freak out about the markets if you've invested your money in, let's say, a 401k or something like that, because you're probably investing for the long term. So unless you're going to retire this year, don't have a heart attack about it. That said, people still look at it. They see this roller coaster. It's been so up and down when you look at the markets this week. So what do we expect when the markets open again on Monday morning, right? Because they did get the news they wanted from the Fed with those interest rate hikes this week.
Yeah, the investors got the news that they expected on Wednesday, like they did today, but there was a freak out on Thursday because the idea is that, if people actually start to spend less, especially on those bigger ticket items when it comes to car loans, mortgages, what does that actually mean for people's ability to consume the things that these big publicly traded stocks are selling? And so come Monday, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen on Monday. It's been a total roller coaster, but, I was chatting with my friend over at CNBC, Andrew Ross Sorkin, and his idea is that this is going to be bumpy, it's going to be a roller coaster, and it's indicative of what the markets and the economy will look like in a year's time. So it's a crystal ball in that long haul of a direction.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens on Monday, Hallie. I wish I could tell you because we'd have this scoop.
Hey, you'd be a bazillionaire. I love that you talk to Andrew Ross Sorkin when you want advice. I talk to you when I want advice. You're like my economic guru. You're my Andrew Ross Sorkin.
We all need to hang out sometime.
So again, thank you so much. Appreciate that breakdown. You know President Biden's pretty happy about this April jobs report. He's praising the low unemployment rate, and he's reiterating, hey, fighting inflation, that is a top priority. He's doing that today in Ohio, actually just within the last couple hours, calling on Congress to pass a bill to help revitalize America's factories. Listen.
Way of life. They keep prices low for businesses and families. So let's make them in America again. Let's build a future here in America.
Carol Lee is near the White House. Okay, Carol. Look, there's some nitty-gritty that the president's out pushing today. Additive manufacturing, 3D printing, et cetera, et cetera. But it feels like some of the messaging around this is, hey, I'm the president, I'm focused on the economy, because the White House knows how much that resonates with voters. They care about their money.
Yeah, absolutely, Hallie. And look, what the president was outlining, he talked about two things today. They're kind of a little wonky. One of them is an initiative that basically has big companies, so Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, GE, they've agreed to partner with smaller manufacturers, that they're smaller U.S. suppliers, to get them to modernize their manufacturing. And it's all aimed at creating products here in the U.S., dealing with supply chains, and boosting manufacturing here at home. And so that's what the president was talking about. And so with this partnership, these big companies agree to help these little companies modernize and make things here. The companies agree to buy more of that stuff, to help train workers. And from the president's perspective, this is going to create higher paying manufacturing jobs, shorten supply chains, and basically give a jolt to the economy. The same he's arguing with this Bipartisan Innovation Act, which focuses on semiconductors, again, more technology types of things that the U.S. wants to have made here so that can boost jobs here at home. The problem with that is it sounds good. It sounds like he's moving and grooving and doing stuff that's going to make the economy move, but it takes time for that to happen. And so they haven't even passed this legislation. This initiative's just getting started. The people aren't going to see the kind of relief that they want just from what the president was talking about today.
But it ties into what we showed, Carol, at the very top of the show, right? Those poll numbers showing that people are worried about the economy. They are not necessarily in love with the way that President Biden is handling it, at least when you look at the majority of Americans. I wonder a little bit how much this, semi-victory lap around some positive economic numbers is a reflection of that for the president politically.
Absolutely. And we've seen the playbook, right? So you have the president look at this job support report, and he comes out and says, hey, these great jobs numbers, we've created more jobs, things are going well. That's all because of my policies. And then when you look at the other side of the jobs picture, he's not really saying that's because of his policies. Republicans are saying that. Things like inflation and higher costs are because of the president's policies. The president's trying to say, look, I'm doing something about this. I'm working on it. And my proposals are going to be better for you Americans in the long run. It's just not clear that the country is really going to buy that at this stage.
Carol Lee, outside the White House for us on this Friday night. Carol, thank you. Some breaking news out of Cuba we've got to get to, where police and rescuers are searching for survivors at this really popular, kind of well-known hotel there, Hotel Saratoga. It's a 5-star spot. This huge explosion this morning has killed at least 9 people. Oh, look at this. Hurt another 40 people. These are some of the pictures from this. I mean, this is staggering to look at, right? You might be thinking, how in the world did that happen? Investigators say it's probably because of a gas leak. The walls of the hotel totally blown out. This is the aftermath you're looking at now. And Cuban officials say they're worried that even more people might be trapped inside, like trapped below some of that debris. One student tells NBC News he was sleeping when this happened, but he felt the explosion. It was so loud, it woke him up right away. Ed Augustin joins me now on this. And Ed, significant damage here. I think you live just a couple of blocks from where this hotel is. Bring us up to speed about this investigation and, importantly, the search for any survivors here.
Well, the government says it's opened an investigation into the explosion. I was there just by chance, as you say. I live around the block, so 5 minutes after the explosion, I was there initially. the word on people's lips was attack, was bomb. Cuba has a history of hotel bombings back in the 90s, and that seems to be etched into people's minds. The government's saying that that's not the case. It wasn't an attack, and they're saying it was a gas leak. They've opened an investigation into that, and I think we can expect further announcements in the days and weeks ahead. In terms of the human toll, yeah, we have 9 confirmed dead. We have 40 injured. Unfortunately, that explosion, the hotel is located right next to a school, and we're hearing reports of children being injured and having stitches as well.
There's so many people that I think are thinking about the search, thinking about the investigation here. Obviously, gas leak, right? At least that's the official suspicion at this point. Do we know anything else?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
No, that's okay. I was saying you talked a little bit about the investigation, right? In the initial moments after the attack, after the explosion, I should say, people concerned that it might have been an attack. It turns out it looks like it's more a suspected gas leak. This is a hotel that's like opening up soon, right, for a post-pandemic reopening. What else do we know about this investigation, Ed?
Well, one of the lucky things is that the hotel was due to open up in 3 days' time. And thankfully, it wasn't full of tourists. If it had been, the human toll would have been even worse. And I think it's important to focus on the economic part of this too. I mean, tourism in normal times is one of the Cuban economy's main earners. It's what puts food on many people's plates, not only directly, but indirectly too, because the state subsidizes food, it subsidizes what's left of medicine, dire economic situation at the moment. So the Cuban people are really paying for the price in lack of basic goods for the lack of tourism. And from so many people's points of view, it's just been one thing after another. Like many Caribbean countries, like all Caribbean countries, the pandemic has decimated tourism. Cuba's been very good at getting COVID levels down thanks to the vaccines they've developed. Then came the war in Ukraine. 40% of Cuban tourists this year came from Russia. And after the European Union, so many European countries closed down their airspace to Russian tourists, that's all gone. And today we have this explosion. As one man who lived just 2 blocks away from the hotel told me today, it's one thing after another. Our economy's in the doldrums. When is this going to end?
Ed Augustin, thank you so much for being live for us in Havana on that. We'll keep updated on this story throughout the weekend, too. Appreciate it. Turning now to the latest on Ukraine now, with Press Secretary Jen Psaki saying the president will attend a virtual G7 meeting on Sunday, chaired by Germany. And you know who else is going to be there? The Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky. Sunday's shaping up to be a pretty important day here. It's just a day before Russia's quote-unquote Victory Day holiday. This is a yearly celebration for them, marking the Soviets defeating Nazi Germany. It also comes as we're seeing another high-profile White House trip today. First Lady Jill Biden arriving in Romania. This is the first stop on her weekend tour in Eastern Europe. She's, look at her here, with U.S. and NATO troops. She's going to head to Slovakia to spend Sunday, Mother's Day, on the country's border with Ukraine to meet refugees. These two countries have taken in more than 1 million people. And over in Ukraine, more are desperately trying to get out. Today, more than 500 people managed to evacuate from that steel plant in Mariupol we've been talking about. Remember, the one that's under siege, civilians had been sheltering. Hundreds of them were able to get out, but Ukrainian officials are bracing for a violent weekend given that Victory Day right around the corner. They think this may be significant for Russia, that Russia may basically step up their attacks. Cal Perry joins us now. And Cal, let me start with this Biden trip to the border of Ukraine here. It is not Joe Biden, it is Jill Biden, right? The first lady here. You've got President Biden, who will see President Zelensky in this virtual G7 meeting the same day that Dr. Biden, the first lady, will be on the border. It feels like an important moment for the U.S. showing support for Ukraine.
Yeah, and it feels like they timed this out pretty well, right, for the attention of it. And they want attention on the First Lady's visit because it is symbolic of the 5 million people who have fled this country. She started her visit, as you said, meeting with service members and their children, actually reading to their children. I think children is going to be the thread that we see throughout this trip. Mother's Day, as you said, she'll be spending with mothers and children who have fled this war. Important to remind our viewers that men of fighting age have stayed behind, have been required to stay here and fight the war. war. And so she will be meeting with some of those 5 million refugees on the same day that President Biden and Zelensky will catch up on teleconference. It comes at a time in which the aid coming to this country, not just the military aid, of which we've spent a lot of time talking about, but the humanitarian aid, $387 million recently pledged by USAID, will certainly be a topic of conversation, Hallie.
We talked about the civilians. When you look at what's happening on the ground in Mariupol in Ukraine, being able to leave, it seems, but then you had Ukrainian officials saying, wait a second, Russian forces actually violated the ceasefire. What else do we know about what is really happening in this particularly hard-hit area?
And information has been incredibly difficult to come by because the communications are just down, especially in that area with the steel plant. So according to the Deputy Prime Minister, 50 civilians were able to get out today, women, children, and elderly folks. But the evacuation was sporadic at best. She paints a picture of heavy fighting in and around that plant area, actually delaying that evacuation. So the hopes for the 100,000 civilians who remain in Mariupol is still very low. And as you said, foreshadowing this victory day, there's some concern on the ground in Mariupol that the Russians are trying to finish this operation so that they can claim some kind of victory in a city that, frankly, has been wiped off the map, Hallie.
Cal, we on this show 24 hours ago had breaking news, I think towards the end of the show, that U.S. intelligence, it turned out, NBC News learned exclusively, according to sources, helped take down the Russian battleship, the Moskva, their sort of flagship vessel, if you will. Today, just in the last little bit, you had the press secretary, Jen Psaki, saying, sort of clarifying, wait a second, the U.S. didn't provide targeting information. That's not specifically what NBC News reported, right? But I wonder how the reaction to this news becoming public is playing out where you are.
And somebody who spent a lot of time in that press room, I'm sure that you enjoyed kind of her walking around this, right? Because the Russians have been saying this is a proxy war, that America is not only funding with weapons the Ukrainian military, but they're feeding intelligence as well. And Jen Psaki having to really dodge these questions about whether this is the definition of a proxy war and kind of walking back a little bit by putting a middle into this, that the U.S. shares intelligence, but what Ukraine does with it is kind of up to them. It might be a difference without a distinction for the Russians, right? The Russians view this as a widening of the offensive. They view this somehow, also, the Americans, as kind of boasting about this. We've heard the foreign minister of Russia say as much. Here on the ground in Ukraine, officials are pretty tight-lipped about it. They don't talk so much about the intelligence that they're getting and how they're using it. They do sort of boast about the effect of those attacks, but they don't really talk a lot of methods, Hallie.
Cal, live for us there in Kyiv. Cal Perry, thank you so much. It's good to see you. I appreciate that insight. Some disturbing news coming into us tonight from Ohio State University, where a second student has died from an apparent drug overdose that may have been caused by fake adderall. This is according to the university's president and the Columbus Public Health Department. 3 students reportedly overdosed off campus Wednesday. They were rushed to the hospital. 1 student died yesterday. The 3rd student was released from the hospital. The school is now asking students, hey, you might want to consider picking up fentanyl test strips. Adderall's gotten this reputation, as you may know, as a drug to help students when they study. The National Center for Health Research study found up to 33%, 1 in 3 college students may abuse Adderall at some point in their college years. Megan Fitzgerald is joining us now. So, Megan, police essentially saying that these may have been Adderall pills laced with fentanyl, with these students not knowing that, obviously, not realizing that.
Right, Hallie. And, this is something that police have been talking about for a very long time, saying that this is a major issue, not only here in Columbus, Ohio, not just in Ohio, but certainly across the nation. And so what we see them doing continuously is really trying to get the message out that it's hard to differentiate between what is a legitimate pill and what could be laced with fentanyl. And they liken it to really gambling with your life and trying to make clear to students and people in the community, look, never buy a pill from somebody on the streets. Don't take pills unless they're coming from the pharmacy. As far as this sad investigation is concerned with these 2 students who lost their lives, police tell us that this is a very active and ongoing investigation, one that they are conducting as a suspected overdose incident, Hallie.
Talk more about what the school's doing, because this is sending, I am sure, shockwaves through the Ohio State University community.
Absolutely. This is a community that, of course, is mourning. Unfortunately, we have seen this situation before. And so we see the university now putting out alerts, trying to get in touch with students, letting them know of just how dangerous this situation is, that these pills, of course, are in the community, but letting them know that they're right there on campus as well. And as devastating as it is, they are hoping that the tragic death of these two students is sending a message to students on campus that, look, this is a very real gamble that you could be taking with your life the moment that you decide to take a pill that you bought from someone on the street, Hallie.
Well, and this is the thing, Megan, right? The issue of pills laced with fentanyl is not a new one. There is a big impact on this. The DEA says 4 of every 10 pills with fentanyl contain a potentially deadly dose. This is a huge problem, and it is a problem for people in this age group.
Hallie, these numbers, these statistics are absolutely devastating. They're staggering. In doing research over the years and just combing through the numbers, the one that really stands out to me the most is this one that I want to read for you. This is from the Drug Enforcement Agency. They say that counterfeit pills laced with fentanyl or any number of other illicit drugs and seized by the DEA have jumped nearly 430% since 2019. 430%. It's just incredible. This other statistic, and I'm reading these off because I really want these numbers to sink in.
Yeah.
Fentanyl overdoses have killed more people aged 18 to 45 since 2020 than COVID and suicide. That one is from the CDC. So when you really let these numbers sink in and you really kind of get the gravity of what we're talking about here, this is a serious crisis that is plaguing the entire country, Hallie.
Megan Fitzgerald, thank you so much for bringing us this story. Appreciate it. If you or somebody you know is suffering from substance abuse, there are resources to help you. 1-800-662-HELP. Jot that one down. Not too long ago, the CDC has announced it's looking into the deaths of 5 kids linked to the growing number of mysterious pediatric hepatitis cases. The agency is looking into more than 100 cases in 24 states and Puerto Rico, dating back to the fall, last October. This is a big increase, remember, from just a couple weeks ago when just 11 such cases have been identified. Doctors are a little puzzled here. Nobody's been able to figure out why are these kids developing hepatitis. Hepatitis basically causes inflammation of your liver. Let's bring in Erica Edwards. And Erica, let me start with that mystery piece. Why don't we know where this is coming from?
That's puzzling investigators worldwide, Hallie. Here's what we know so far about these kids. Most are under age 5, generally around age 2 to 3. But here's what's really puzzling and really what's giving me pause. These kids were all generally healthy before they developed hepatitis or liver inflammation, as it's called. They had no underlying health conditions that might put them at risk for complications from viruses. That's really what's puzzling people. In addition to those 100 cases that you mentioned here in the U.S., an additional 200 cases are now being investigated worldwide. As you said, 5 potential deaths here in the U.S. alone. Hallie?
More than 90% of the kids who came down with this had to be hospitalized, Erica. That is, I think, a statistic that shows how significant or how serious this could be, despite the fact that the numbers are relatively, right, when you look at the millions of kids in this country, relatively small.
Yeah, it is important to note that it's rare, but it's something to watch out for. Now, as we were talking about, they really don't have a specific cause, no one thing linking all of these cases. Right now, the leading theory is that this is an adenovirus. About half of the kids here in the U.S. Tested positive for adenovirus. About half of the kids in the UK also tested positive for adenovirus. It's unclear why, though, because these viruses are pretty common. They cause your typical stomach, upset, common colds, generally not linked to hepatitis or liver inflammation in general. I can also tell you that this is not related to the COVID-19 vaccine. These kids are too young. They're not even eligible to be vaccinated. They're not coming in also with COVID infection. However, there's a new emerging theory here that kind of got me interested today. Perhaps they're now looking into whether these kids previously had COVID, maybe a mild or asymptomatic COVID case that perhaps prompted their immune system to react abnormally to an ensuing adenovirus. That's still just a hunch. It's under investigation. I know you had up the symptoms just a minute ago, just really quickly. Generally,
please, yes.
Parents, sorry, go ahead, Hallie.
No, but yes, that was exactly what I wanted to ask you, Erica. What do parents need to look for here?
I've talked to several of these families. Generally, it starts with unexplained vomiting without any reason, abdominal pain, diarrhea. The key thing there I want you to look at is jaundice. This is extreme yellowing of the skin and the whites of the eyes. And one other hint, one of the families I talked with said that the mom could not see this yellowing of the eyes in artificial light. It was only when she took her child into natural light that she could see that yellowing of the eyes. Something to watch out for if parents do see this in their kids as a sign to call the doctor. Hallie.
Erica Edwards, it's such good information. Thank you. 27 million of us are at risk for a lot of rain and some severe storms over the next few days, hitting from the southeast to the mid-Atlantic to start the weekend. Tornado watches, by the way, in effect in the southeast. We could also see major downpours, hail, wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour. It's the same system that pretty much destroyed this Family Dollar in Mobile, Alabama. Luckily, look at this. There's like basically nothing left. Luckily, nobody was hurt. We're going to keep an eye on those storms, but stay with us because up next, we have a basketball Hall of Famer with a connection, a close one to Brittany Griner, the WNBA player still detained in Russia. Dawn Staley joins us one-on-one with some insight on that fight to bring Brittany home. Plus, scientists have discovered water under the ice in Antarctica. This is a big deal. We're going to explain why in a minute. The new WNBA season tips off tonight, but there is one big-time absence in the lineup, Brittany Griner. She's the Phoenix Mercury superstar who's been held in Russia now, detained by the Kremlin for nearly 3 months. If you've been watching this show, you know her story because we've been talking about it. She was arrested in February at an airport in Moscow. She was accused of smuggling in vape cartridges with hash oil. She could face 10 years in prison in Russia. But the State Department has said this week she has been wrongfully detained. They're working to try to get her out, to try to get her home. The WNBA is going to honor the 7-time All-Star this season by branding her initials and jersey number on all 12 home courts. Dawn Staley, a Hall of Fame player and head coach of the 2-time national champion South Carolina Gamecocks, is a friend of Brittany Griner and her family. She is joining us now. Dawn, I'm so glad to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, and thank you for giving us a platform to continue to fight to bring Brittany Griner home.
It's a huge story. I mean, it's a big deal story. I know you're in touch with Griner's wife, who, by the way, graduates from law school tomorrow, right? This amazing celebratory moment, and Brittany Griner's not here to see that. How is she holding up? How's the family doing? Have they been able to talk with Brittany recently?
Sherelle is holding up great. I think when you're dealt with something as big as this, and a void in your life as big as this, you try to continue to put one foot forward and you try to normalize it. But we know it's nothing normal about being detained for 78 days. She's holding up well, but obviously the family is incredibly stressed out. And it's our job to help them to bring Brittany home. Yeah. Now that we know that she was wrongfully detained, we need the big guy. We need President Biden. We need the big lady. We need Vice President Harris and anybody out there that can help us bring Brittany home. And we just need to imagine it being one of our loved ones. I know Brittany is a loved one of mine.
Yeah.
I coached her in the Olympic Games and the World Cup, and I know her heart, and I know she's a family person, and I know it's tearing her up to be apart from them and in the wrong way.
Do we know how she's doing, or if she's been able to communicate with her family, her wife?
I do believe she gets a chance to speak to her family. I don't know how often, but I know that they do speak to her, and her main messaging is to get her home. Yeah. And we have to do our part to get her home.
Well, you've said a couple interesting things. You mentioned the State Department reclassifying Griner now as wrongfully detained, which is a big deal, right? That goes beyond just the semantics. It means that they believe, they can't rely on the Russian court system to get you out. Did you and the community who supports Brittany take that as a signal to sort of step up how vocal you plan to be and you are being to get her released? Because prior to this, there wasn't a lot. I think everybody was sort of intentionally being a little bit quieter about it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been watching it. We've been paying attention. We've been waiting to hear some more information. And now that we know that she's been wrongfully detained, we have to up the ante.
Okay.
And we got to continue to get the word out and let people know that they need to shout it as loud as they can to their Congress, men and women, because to have an American over in a Russian penal system it's not a regular thing. It's not a normal thing. So we don't want to normalize it. It's an abnormal thing that we need to continue to fight for. And the more that we raise our voices for Brittany, the closer it is for her to get home.
You mentioned the president, you mentioned the vice president. Do you believe this administration is doing enough right now to get Brittany home?
Well, here's what we do know. We know that now that her case has been deemed wrongfully being detained, so that's a step closer. So somebody's working in Brittany's favor. We just need them to expedite it so she can get home. 78 days in a Russian prison. I mean, just imagine a loved one being detained in this way. You know, Brittany is 6'8". You know, imagine her being confined to a prison cell. I can't fathom it. You know I want her home. I know I would love for her to be at her wife's graduation tomorrow. I'm going to send a couple of friends there. I got to do a graduation for a couple of my current players. But if not, I would have been driving down 85 to go see Sherelle receive her diploma and stand in the gap for Brittany.
You know, what I'm about to say is nothing new to you, Dawn, but so that our viewers sort of understand the context here of why Brittany was overseas in Russia playing. You know, she was making more than $1 million there, I think. It's like 4 times her salary or in the WNBA, which the league, by the way, still plans to pay her. We should note that part. But the average player in the WNBA last year got about $120,000. The amount of money, the average salary, by the way, for the NBA, we're showing it on screen, $7.3 million. We just wanted to point that out. Should there be discussions, you know, because of the discrepancy here and the value of placed on players for the WNBA versus overseas, should there be a bigger discussion around compensation? Should there be a bigger discussion, in your view, as somebody who is just such a legend in this world, about do we have our players not go to countries like Russia in the off season?
Yes, there should be a discussion. I think this situation is only going to expedite that discussion. I know the WNBA is at a place where they've increased the salaries, but, you know, for Brittany, she was over there just trying to make a living, doing what she does. And it's a shame that she had to do that. If she's, you know, if she's an NBA player, there wouldn't be a choice as to where she would spend her off season. It surely wouldn't be, in a foreign country, trying to make ends meet. So yes, the WNBA, I do believe will have those conversations to expand the league, number one, and also to pay the players. So, this is the only place that they will have to play and do it in a manner that, in the same fashion in which Brittany was in Russia making a seven-figure salary.
Dawn Staley, we are so grateful to you for being with us, for shining a light on this incredibly important story. We hope to have you back. I hope to have you back when there's better news, and hopefully that's real soon. So, Dawn Staley, thank you again for being with us.
Thank you.
Let's get you over now to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, a 9th journalist has been killed in Mexico this year. Luis Enrique Ramirez, found dead on the side of a highway. His body was in a black bag wrapped in plastic. Officials say they're working with the government to try and stop violence against journalists in this country. If you've been watching this show, you know it's something we've been reporting on since the beginning of the year. Number 2, the man accused of attacking comedian Dave Chappelle on stage during a performance was in court today. 23-year-old Isaiah Lee, he pleaded not guilty to misdemeanor charges. He's been ordered to stay away from Chappelle and to stay away from the Hollywood Bowl where this went down. He's being held on a $30,000 bond. Number 3, Amazon has fired more than half a dozen senior managers tied to that unionized warehouse in Staten Island. The managers were told they were being fired as part of a, quote, organizational change. Remember, workers at this warehouse voted to form the company's first union in the United States just last month. Number 4, a huge amount of water has been found under the ice in Antarctica for the very first time. You might think, okay, like, where there's ice, there's water, right? But listen, researchers say this is an unexplored groundwater system. It is a huge deal because it could help these scientists understand how climate change has impacted Antarctica. Number 5, SpaceX brought home 4 astronauts with a midnight splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. The end of a 6-month mission at the International Space Station for the crew. It has been the busiest month yet for Elon Musk's space company, and a pretty busy month for Musk himself trying to buy Twitter. Still to come. Investigators have found the car they think an Alabama corrections officer and suspected killer used to escape, but the car has actually been found once before on the day that they actually escaped. What in the world has happened here, and where are these two? We're going to take you to Alabama live. Plus, former President Donald Trump showing up at a rally tonight for former TV doctor Mehmet Oz and his bid to try to win a Pennsylvania Senate seat. There's a lot of threads to pull on here. We're going to pull on them after the break. It's looking like Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene will be able to run for re-election after a judge's ruling today in Georgia. The judge says the group of voters who brought the lawsuit alleging she played a role in the attack on the Capitol on January 6th didn't have enough evidence to prove that she had engaged in insurrection. That would have been illegal. Georgia state law says the judge now has to send his findings to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who, by the way, has just ruled that she will be allowed to stay on the ballot. Tonight, former President Trump, speaking of Republican politics, will hit the stage outside Pittsburgh to campaign for his pick in this super-duper competitive Republican primary in Pennsylvania. This is a very big deal race, right? Just generally, it could determine which party controls the Senate. And the primaries are competitive, too, as you might imagine. Here's some of the polling. Dr. Oz, you know him from TV, probably, edging out just barely David McCormick, who's a businessman running for this Pennsylvania seat, beating him by just 2 percentage points. It's another primary that could tell us just how strong the former president's influence is on the GOP ahead of the November midterms. It comes after a victory for him earlier this week in Ohio, where another one of the candidates he backed, J.D. Vance, won the GOP nod in a pretty crowded race. Vance, by the way, will be there with Oz tonight. So, hey, there's no place like Pennsylvania, perhaps you could say the land of Oz. Let me bring in Vaughn Hilliard, who's at the rally in Pennsylvania. Mark Murray is joining us, too. Vaughn, let me start with you. Talk me through the vibe, right? Because this is a pretty high-profile event for the former president and the TV doctor.
Right, and you know the streets of Pennsylvania, Hallie, and you understand the complexities from the city cores, from Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. We're here in one of the more rural part of the communities here, Westmoreland. And this is a place where Donald Trump is going to be campaigning despite the rain alongside Mehmet Oz, who, you know, I think it's interesting to note here is not necessarily the defined conservative in this race here. This is an individual who a lot of Republicans who we're talking to at this very rally are very skeptical of past praise of the Obamas, of potentially some more Democratic sounding comments that he has made. And yet this is the candidate that Donald Trump went with. And even they were showing an ad of Dr. Oz's up on the screen here just a bit ago, and there were some in the crowd who started booing here. But this speaks to when you're talking about a crowded field, it won't potentially take much for Oz in order to pull this off. You mentioned J.D. Vance. He was one of those individuals just a few years ago who also was seen as somebody who opposed Donald Trump, and yet look where he is. He's now the Republican nominee for the Senate here in Ohio, and that is what exactly Mehmet Oz is hoping for in the case here in Pennsylvania.
What's also interesting to me, Vaughn, is the way that what's happening in Pennsylvania feels a little bit like a proxy fight for some of these 2024 potential presidential candidates, right? So not just Donald Trump, who has heavily hinted he's going to run again, but you look at somebody like Mike Pompeo, widely speculated he wants to go for a presidential run. He's backing the other guy, David McCormick, right? Senator Ted Cruz, same thing, backing McCormick, right, but Trump and some others back Oz. And even Pompeo was out today saying that Oz's Senate run would cause national security concerns. Do you see it that way? Like, am I nuts to think this is kind of a proxy fight as we look ahead to the next cycle?
No, not at all. And in fact, Ted Cruz in Ohio was behind Josh Mandel's campaigning alongside him, but they lost that battle. And you're seeing Mike Pompeo even wade into a race next week in West Virginia. There's two current incumbent Republican congressmen in West Virginia that, because of redistricting, they're going to have to go head-to-head. Donald Trump has gone with Alex Mooney, and Mike Pompeo has gone with David McKinley. So far, Ohio was a big win for Donald Trump, and that is what he is hoping to come away with here in the month of May, are some victories in his pocket, so he can lay claim to say, look, the Republican Party still follows me. I am still the influential force here. You were mentioning, though, Mike Pompeo was taking some aim at some of the dual citizenship. that Mehmet Oz holds with Turkey here. He actually at one point served in the Turkish military. He voted in the 2018 presidential election in Turkey. Now, we should note Mehmet Oz has said that he would renounce his Turkish citizenship if that time were to come, that he would to be elected senator. At the same time, Mike Pompeo's concerns are echoed by a lot of the folks here in the crowd who are not so sure that Oz is necessarily the conservative that they want to see represent them in Congress.
Okay, so Vaughn, you're following sort of the GOP lane. Mark, let me come to you on the Democratic lane, because we laid out the stakes for the Senate race in the general, right? I mean, this is a huge deal nationally because it could be one of the races that determines, do Republicans or Democrats control the Senate? And we know how important that could be after 2022. On the Democratic side, the current lieutenant governor in Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, is polling pretty decently ahead of the rest of his competition. We're talking days away for this primary. Do you see anything game-changing happening, or is it pretty likely that John Fetterman's going to go up against whoever wins the GOP race?
Yeah, Hallie, you say decently. I see a 39-point lead in that kind of poll, and that is pretty gargantuan to me. I mean, as you know me, Hallie, I'm very cautious when it comes to polls, whether the imprecision, the margin of error that we often see. But that is a very, very big lead right now. And what is striking to me is that a decade ago, Connor Lamb might have been the ideal Democratic candidate, someone who actually has a military background, someone who's won tough general election contests in battleground areas. But right now, the Democratic electorate, at least according to this poll and the others that I've seen, are siding with John Fetterman. We still have less than 2 weeks to go, but it does indicate at the very least that the progressive wins in the Democratic Party, the Democratic primary voters, at least in Pennsylvania, but I'm also picking up elsewhere, are preferring people on the more progressive side of things rather than those kind of cookie cutter, really establishment Democrats from the past.
Mark, Murray, Vaughn Hilliard, thanks to the both of you. Appreciate it. A new battlefield in the fight for reproductive rights is opening up in South Dakota, with state leaders looking to ban abortion in all forms, and that includes abortion pills, right? This is kind of the next frontier. South Dakota law already bans abortions 22 weeks into a pregnancy, and the state's governor, Governor Noem, has promised to, quote, completely outlaw abortion. And one of the things being targeted is these pills. More than half of abortions in the U.S. are now done with pills rather than going through surgery, according to the Guttmacher Institute, which is an abortion rights advocacy group. Since there's only one Planned Parenthood clinic in South Dakota, the pill can be an alternative for some of those women seeking abortions. Hallie Vitale went to that clinic in Sioux Falls to talk with workers who say they are strapped for resources.
Hallie, on the ground here in South Dakota, this is one of 5 states nationally that only has one abortion clinic that childbearing people have access to. And they knew that what the Supreme Court was deciding was likely to further endanger the work that they're doing on the ground here. But for some of the providers that we've talked to, hearing and reading that draft decision was utterly different than even just thinking about it in the abstract. Listen to what one nurse here told me. And I would note, Hallie, we're only using her first name because she fears for her safety otherwise here on the ground in the community where she lives. Listen.
It felt like I was being trampled, and everybody above me knew that I was down there. And because I have a uterus, I wasn't worth picking up off the floor. And it felt like I was already being criminalized for having an organ I never asked to have. And it felt like I was very much less than and not a full human being, and not worth all the rights that everybody else is afforded.
And Hallie, of course, that was a nurse who lives in this community who spoke to us. But we also talked to a doctor who has been traveling to this clinic monthly for years. She lives in neighboring Minnesota, but travels in because there's just such a lack of people who will come and do these procedures, in many cases for fear of retaliation from this ultra-conservative community. Of course, South Dakota is among the most restrictive states in the United States for abortion access. The governor here, Kristi Noem, a close ally of former President Donald Trump, has said that her goal is to outright ban abortion completely. That's something that she has mused about potentially calling a special session for if and when the Supreme Court makes their decision on this. So that's certainly something that we're looking out for here. But look, clinics like this one on the ground, and I've been doing this reporting for years now, they are prepared, especially those 5 states that only have one clinic. I remember speaking to another provider in Missouri who said that they were preparing for this as well. Even if they're preparing, though, and you can sort of hear around me, there are voices on each side of this that are extremely passionate. Even just today at this clinic, we have seen protesters come out who are pro-choice. We have others come out who are anti-abortion. Certainly those passions flaring as we wait for what the Supreme Court ultimately decides here. Hallie?
Hallie Vitale reporting for us there in Sioux Falls. More of Allie's reporting will be featured tonight on Nightly News at 6:30 Eastern. Still to come, a man suspected of murdering his wife just won a primary in Indiana. We'll explain how that happened. Plus, we're live in Alabama with the latest bizarre development in the case of that missing inmate and his corrections officer. That's next. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because you couldn't possibly read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our Midwest Bureau, a central Indiana man charged with murdering his wife won a primary this week for his township board. Andrew Wilhoit got most of the GOP votes while being held in jail without bond. His trial is set for later this year, so if he's convicted of a felony before the November election, he'll be removed from the ballot. Also, from our Southeast Bureau, a Florida Sheriff's Department, look at this. Shark-infested waters. They released this kind of scary video. This is dozens of sharks swimming near the Anclote sandbar. Officials are asking people to keep their guard up as they get ready to head to the beaches this summer. Yeah, keep your guard up, folks, boy. And from our D.C. Bureau, Boeing is moving its headquarters out of Chicago right across the river to Arlington, Virginia. Boeing wants to create a new research and technology hub and says location is key. They say the move is going to take them closer to stakeholders and engineering talent, too. The Lauderdale County, Alabama Sheriff's Department confirming today the car that a corrections officer and inmate may have used in their getaway was found abandoned 100 miles away in Tennessee. Last Friday, the very day that the two of these people escaped, but it wasn't connected to the case until yesterday. Listen.
We know what direction they went. Right now, we're trying to canvass the area for any witnesses. We're sort of back to square one.
Someone called in the tip about that 2007 Ford Edge that was found near Franklin. That's just south of Nashville. The car was locked. It was taken over to a tow yard. No sightings of suspected murderer Casey White or the corrections officer, Vicky White, that were reported. The sheriff said this afternoon he thinks they may have walked away or maybe even gotten a ride from someone. It's happening as another Alabama county is reopening an investigation into the death of Casey White's ex-girlfriend in 2008. Christy Shelton was shot to death with a sawed-off shotgun, but it was ruled a suicide. White was there at the time of her death, but ruled out as a suspect. A lot of attention on this guy. Sam Brock has been following this whole manhunt. I feel like you've been in Alabama right since this happened, Sam, all week long. You're there down in Florence. Big developments here so far. We got the car. Word that the officers took out a lot of money and stayed at a hotel before they disappeared, but still no sign of either of them.
Which just speaks, Hallie, to the fact that it was so well pre-planned that police right now, investigators, the U.S. Marshal Service, has people all over the country, they won't specify exactly how many, looking for these two individuals. And right now they are back at square one, according to the sheriff of Lauderdale. So let's talk about that car. The car was found in Bethesda, Tennessee, which is roughly 2 hours from where I am right now, in the middle of nowhere, right? It got called in 3 or 4 hours the day that these two escaped. Now, why they dropped it off in Tennessee, no one seems to know. The sheriff was speculating perhaps they had mechanical issues, but the reality of the situation is, Hallie, it took a week for someone, either the tow company or Williamson County Sheriff's Department, to reach out to the U.S. Marshal Service and tell them, hey, you know that car that you've been advertising for the last 3 or 4 days? We actually have it right here. So it's no one's fault, but perhaps people weren't paying close enough attention because now they have the car. At the very least, it helps to solve one of the puzzle pieces as to where these two were at some point in time.
Exactly.
And what's going on right now, investigators in Tennessee are going to this sparse rural area and trying to find gas stations, neighbors, anyone that might have seen them, any surveillance video that might exist that could pinpoint where they were at a certain point in time.
They're also putting out new photos of the two of them, right? And you got the governor of Alabama saying there will be a reward if you give any information if you find these people. The pictures show, like, the tattoos that this guy has, Casey White has. There's photos showing Vicky White if she had dark hair, like, let's say if she dyed it. And a reminder that we're talking about, when we talk about Casey White, 6'9" and 260 pounds. There is this also interesting piece here of whether or not they think that Vicky White, the corrections officer, is safe.
So that's an interesting point, by the way, about the Casey White, the guy that they're looking for, 6'9", 330 pounds. They just updated it, Hallie, and look at that tattoo right now. That is a white supremacy prison group that's tattooed on his back. Obviously, Casey White also has tattoos all over his chest. He's got sleeves. In the event that he were to walk around with a short sleeve shirt on or stand up for a second, I think he'd be pretty clearly recognizable. The issue is what kind of subterfuge is being used right now. There were rumors out there that perhaps he was in a wheelchair and they were moving around like that to try to hide his height. No confirmation on that. And a couple of other sort of details here that we're still trying to work through. The sheriff was asked whether or not Vicky White, according to reports, had been to a Kohl's days before their escape to get men's clothing, and also to an adult store. And I will tell you, we did hear from that adult store. They do believe that Vicky White was inside days prior to leaving on that jailbreak with a special relationship, as we've talked about, with Casey White. No confirmation on that from the sheriff's office. It is one of the many layers of all of this, though, that is fascinating and puzzling, and we are just trying to get to the bottom of it.
Sam Brock posted up for us there in Alabama for who knows how much longer. Sam, thank you very much for bringing us the latest. After the break, we're off to the races, heading to Kentucky for a Derby preview with our own Steve Kornacki. Who's in and the big name who's out next. Time again for what some fans call the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, the Kentucky Derby. And for the first time since before the pandemic, Churchill Downs is going to be back to full capacity. It is going to be packed with a lot of people, except for one really kind of notable person, the legendary trainer Bob Baffert, one of the industry's most recognizable stars. He will not be there. He has been banned. After, do you remember the drama over this last year? His winning horse, Medina Spirit, tested positive for a steroid after last year's race. Well, now none of his horses can run in the next two Derbies. Our Steve Kornacki is at the track in Kentucky, in the thick of it, Steve. Wait, I love this. Tons of people there. This is a big moment. No pandemic restrictions for the fans. And also, Steve, no Bob Baffert. Do people feel that absence? You know what I mean? Do they realize? I mean, they realize it, but do they feel it?
It's interesting because Bob Baffert himself is banned from Churchill Downs. He's nowhere near this race. As far as I know, he's nowhere near the state of Kentucky. And yet, yeah, his presence is absolutely felt here because there are two horses who are going to be in this race tomorrow who were, until the last few weeks, trained by Bob Baffert. Their names are Messier and Taba, and they both, at least on paper, come into this race with real big chances at victory. So it's a fascinating storyline. Baffert trained these horses for pretty much the last year, exhausted all of his legal options trying to get into this race, reluctantly transferred them to a different trainer. Tim Yaktine is the trainer's name. And now here come these horses, and I don't think it would surprise anybody here if one of them ended up in the winner's circle tomorrow. So Baffert himself would not be declared the winning trainer, certainly, but a horse that he had a real hand in training could certainly end up winning this race still.
So besides Messier and Taba, who should we be looking for?
So they are not the favorites, or not likely to be the favorites. I say they have a chance. The two who are likely to be the favorites, and this is going to be fascinating to watch Saturday as the public puts its money on this race, are Epicenter and Zandon, the two top contenders certainly going into this. Epicenter, what's interesting, the trainer, Steve Asmussen, he is the all-time winningest trainer in North America. No trainer has won more horse races in North America than Steve Asmussen, but he has never won the Kentucky Derby. He's 0 for 23 in this race. So does he finally have the horse in Epicenter to break that jinx? And Zandon, the other top contender here, it looks like on the odds board, has an interesting running style. Zandon is a closer, usually sits back pretty far in the pack, waits till late, makes a move. That style of running used to work a lot in the Kentucky Derby, but in the last decade or so, it has not been a successful form. So Zandon, well regarded certainly, but is trying to do something we really haven't seen done in about 10 years, win as a closer.
It's going to be fascinating to watch, except for maybe the chance of rain, right? Because I think it's in the forecast. What does that mean?
Yeah, so here we are. It's been on and off today. To be honest, we were expecting a lot more rain today than we've gotten. And so the hope right now, when you take a look at the forecast, is we get it out of our system today. The track may be a little wet tomorrow, but if tomorrow's weather cooperates, and that looks about 50-50 right now, this may be a drier, I don't want to jinx it or anything, but it may end up a drier weekend than we were all fearing.
I am manifesting sunshine into the forecast. Where's your hat?
It's a good question. You know, the funniest thing I've seen is a lot of the folks around here, it's not raining right now, but a lot of the folks around here had these fancy hats on, and when the rain came down, they had special ponchos just for the hats to protect them from the rain.
Well, hat jackets. I love that. Steve, I have to say, I love seeing you out there. I love seeing you in the field for this. So different from your job, typically covering politics. Do you like one better than the other? Do they compare at all?
I tell people I cover horse races, political and actual horse races, so I love getting it. How can you beat this atmosphere, though?
Oh, man. Steve Kornacki, I'll let you go. Enjoy it. We'll see you tomorrow on NBC. I'm so glad you're able to be with us, Steve. Really appreciate it, pal.
Thanks a lot, Hallie. Appreciate it.
And that does it for us this hour. What a Friday, huh? Have an awesome weekend. I'll see you right back here on Monday. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.